From the Edge Media Studios in downtown Indianapolis, this is Indiana Issues. Here's your host, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz.
Hello, and welcome to Indiana Issues, the public affairs program. We go beyond the headlines, beyond the sound bites, and find out what's really affecting the lives of Hoosiers across the great state of Indiana. I'm your host, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, the editor and publisher of IndyPolitics.org. Well, we got a full program today with our panel of prognosticators and political pundits. Our Libertarian friend, Mark Rutherford. So, Mark, how's it going?
Doing well. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Our Democrat friend, Lindsay Ships. Ms. Ships, always good to have you back with us.
Thank you.
Also former pageant person, by the way.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Let's not go that far.
And, of course, our good friend, Jim Merritt. Jim, always good to see you, my friend.
Howdy.
So let's go ahead and get started. We had the state of Indiana's fiscal health, big news item this week. The governor got the revenue forecast, basically saying it looks like we have to finish out with a $2.5 billion surplus. But there's some questions about how they got to that surplus, some other issues respecting to what's going to happen for next year. So, Mark, we'll start with you. Your assessment of the state's fiscal health.
I think the state's fiscal health is fine. I think there was some panic about what happened, which I understood why it did happen. But it's doing okay. Everybody was predicting how terrible tariffs would be. We still don't know what that's going to be. But the stock market has recovered, I think, fairly nicely. We're just not sure what it is, and everybody's just kind of doing business as normal is what I would say, especially people who are involved with the corporations, et cetera. No one's panicking yet. They're still being guarded, though.
Jim, even though there's no panicking, it looks like there were still some layoffs, like 123 layoffs in workforce development. It looked like there'll still be some impact, even though the state was in good fiscal health for the last year, but maybe not so much for the next fiscal year.
You know, it's interesting. On State House happenings, we talked about this a lot. And at the time when April 15th came and they had the revenue forecast, it really put the legislature into paralysis. And this forecast was playing off of the Liberation Day in April, and as well as the idea of maybe higher taxes, and the stock market wasn't doing well, and you know, back to trade and everything. And it just really demonstrated that the legislature really did not demonstrate a nimbleness about it. And what I said at the time, and I still believe it, is that they should have sine died and said to the governor, bring us back in late June before the July 1st new budget. And you could pass that budget right there, but let's let things calm down a little bit and make it so that if we do still have a bad economy with all these different factors in it, then you can pass that bill and the budget and go forward on July 1st, number one. But two, you could actually have these mini forecasts for 90 days in the next fiscal year, and possibly, if it's still as bad as everybody thinks it is, have a short budget session in January 2026, and really kind of inch along with this a little bit. And they didn't do that, but it has calmed down. The fiscal picture is pretty good here, and all those cuts and raising the tobacco taxes happen, and they're still cutting librarians at the state, and as well as other people, and I'm not sure if that was really necessary. But going forward, this report says that we've got smooth sailing for a little bit now, and I'm happy about it.
Lindsay, you probably have a little bit of a different assessment.
I do. Yeah, I think it depends on who you ask. I appreciate that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. That's fair. But when it comes down to it, it really depends on who you ask. This is bad news for everyday Hoosiers who are dealing with very basics of services that either government provides, or that the government is very handy-heavy on regulating or attempting to regulate. And I'm talking about healthcare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits. These are all federal programs that state of Indiana administers. And the devils are in the details when you talk about these programs. And when you look at the budget and what we're dealing with, it looks fine, right? And we've had that commentary coming at us through state budget this week, and Chad Rainey, he gave us all of our info this week. But then you didn't look at what we looked at the revenue picture. but there's still dire need in this state that's being ignored. And you had revenue stream after revenue stream talked about yesterday, but you didn't talk about how it affects Hoosiers downstream. And when you think of that downstream, that down trickle side of things, people right now, the message isn't translating well. It's not being communicated well, number one. And number two, it just doesn't speak to everyday Joe Hoosier who cannot pay their utility bills, can't pay for health care, can't pay for a visit to the ER, who decide not to go to the hospital for their everyday prevention care because they're making terrible, because they've been forced to make terrible decisions thanks to the fiscal picture that Indiana budget officials have thrown at us. And that unfortunately leads folks to making terrible decisions like whether they have to, cool their home or feed their families.
Jim, one an interesting thing that was brought up during the budget briefing this week was the fact that they said that they just basically moved the goalposts a little bit. That instead of this money coming in, this time of year it's going to come in, this time of year, oh, look, now we've got a surplus, but you can only do that for so long.
Right. And May is an outstanding month for the state of Indiana in the way of funding, if you will, bringing in tax money. But this is nothing new. There's been a roller coaster throughout the next 2 years on this budget, and they'll continue to keep an eye on trends and year over year. And I just hope the legislature stays nimble. As what Lindsay says, that the bills have to be paid, and we are committed to certain services that are put together. It's the budgeting of the state of Indiana for 2 years. I wish the federal government would do 2 years, but it's a difficult roller coaster to keep a track of. And Lisa Hirschman, who is the budget chairman, wrong title, but she's in charge of the budget. I have all the faith in the world for her to continue to ride this rodeo and keep us going the straight and narrow on it.
Mark, when we asked the governor, what about the impact of the budget on local governments, they didn't seem to have a whole lot of sympathy.
No, I don't think he does have sympathy for local. And what I see with the budget and the announcement that happened in April and everything's going to be bad and all of that is, I saw a lot of long knives come out to cut those programs people didn't like. They saw that as an opportunity, and whether that's a good policy or not, it was done, and I don't see any movement to change any of that. And that's the problem we had. And Jim, I agree with you. I think they should have said, we're going to see how this really turns out. Let's meet at the end of June and see what it is. But no, I think a lot of people saw opportunity to get things done that they wanted to do. And it was pretty harsh. I'm a big one that you can cut government down, but if you hired people, you don't lay them off unless they're doing a bad job. And you just don't hire people. And you cut it that way is the better way to do it.
Well, it took us by surprise, too, if you recall.
Yes, it did. Mm-hmm. But it was such a shock. I think what you're promoting was the best way to do it. Let's come back. We've got time to do that.
Yeah.
This is our job. We don't have to do this very often, maybe once every 20 years, maybe. Mm-hmm. All right, let's just do it. This is the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching Indiana Issues, the public affairs program where we go beyond the headlines and sound bites and dig into the issues impacting Hoosiers. Our guests on the program today are Libertarian Mark Rutherford, Democrat Lindsay and Republican Jim Merritt. Okay, GOP Civil War.
Are we still talking about the budget?
No, the budget that's just fired at Fort Sumter. This one's Gettysburg.
Oh, Lord.
The Indiana Republican Party Civil War enters its next phase, ladies and gentlemen, with another legal chapter. Marion County delegate and former House candidate Joseph Bortka filed a lawsuit alleging the party's, let me make sure I got this right here, alleging the party's convention was hijacked by leadership to suppress grassroots votes. The suits target the Indiana Republican State Committee and former convention chairs Ed Simcox and Randy Head. And so, Jim Merritt, we start with you.
Yeah, well, former county chairman. Well, first of all, Ed Simcox is the most honest person I know, number one. And two, he understands how to put a convention on. And Randy Head did an outstanding job of succeeding him. And I think this is what happens when the parties that are in a supermajority and not a whole lot of discipline, and the idea that he's gotten a lot of media on this, but I just don't think that this has any merit. I don't think that.
No pun intended.
Yeah, right. I just don't. I don't know what is there. This is inter-party squabble. A lawsuit is so foreign to me on this. They ought to have a fight about this. But usually when people like Ed Simcox and Randy Head get everybody together every 2 years and they talk about a platform, the biggest issue that is discussed is the life issue. That is really what this is all about. And there are many of us that think that that's been in that summer session, that special session, that was solved. And so I've been to a lot of conventions, and I've never seen a minority squished, if you will, or shut down. And it just really kind of boggles my mind. It's almost like idle hands. We don't have anything else to do. Let's fight among ourselves. And it's disappointing.
So, Lindsay, let me ask you, are Republicans acting like Democrats now?
Well, when you threw this on our list today, I was sitting there thinking, well, just a year ago, I was sitting at the Indiana State Democratic Convention waiting to find out if Destiny was going to be the one. But obviously, this is the scenario we've got here now that it's in the courts is different. And you've taken this fight, essentially, pulled it out of the convention where you normally see and I loved your point that this was so perfectly executed at the convention by the folks who are seeking to put others in the roles they're in now, and now it didn't work out in their favor, so they've taken another turn. I thought that was brilliant, but I was looking through I spoke with a colleague, and I looked through some of the case law. If you've ever looked at this issue before, I would suggest looking up Nolan v. Taylor. And this was a result of some Martin County Democrats who were upset with how it was going down there after a caucus. And the courts were like, why did you bring this to us? Why is this of our jurisdiction? First of all, it's almost like the drama with HOAs and like I was like, it might as well be an HOA. Like, we have no jurisdiction over this contract. Why are you here? And it was just interesting to me to see how we've forgotten our history, just very brief history here in Indiana, to bring that lawsuit forward. I don't think the court is going to grant them any type of. I think it's going to be done, thrown out.
Thrown out.
Yeah,
no
they're not going to hear this, and I appreciate the briefing or the filing that was presented. Nice try. Would be a great conversation for perhaps L2s or L3s, but that's it.
Well, let's ask the other lawyer in the room here, our good friend Mark Rutherford. Mark, obviously there are lots of issues, standing, jurisprudence, the classic political question, like, hey, you boys go in the back room and go beat the hell out of each other and go work this on your own because we're not dealing with this nonsense here. Not today. Your thoughts, my friend.
My thoughts about it is I think the Indiana election code, which really needs a big revision, but there are a few things in there that suggest that the courts should be involved in a couple of minor things, and the rest, let everybody fight it out. That's the tradition. That's the way it should be. For the Libertarian Party, I get involved in the politics on it. And when you have any group of people together, you're going to have disagreements about it, but I'm not going out there filing lawsuits on it. I talked to other people afterwards. I didn't think this went well. I thought this went great. What do you think? That's what you do afterwards. And the thing that keeps coming to me is when the rules worked for us to get some of our people nominated, we loved the rules. But now that the rules are being used in a way we don't like, now we don't like the rules. Well, which way do you want it? And I understand why they may have frustrations because I think they've been shut out. A lot of the reasons they've been shut out is because of stuff they've done that has not been very well taken by other people in their party. But your best way is to go to people and say, what did I do wrong? Why do you think it was wrong? What can we do to solve it? Can we change it? And you're more likely to get a better result. Maybe you'll get half a loaf instead of zero loaf.
And by the way, speaking of zero loaves, in addition to the lawsuit that was filed, they also put out a fundraising letter saying, "Hey, donate money to help us pay for this litigation."
A GoFundMe, huh?
Literally a GoFundMe.
Yes.
And the first name on the GoFundMe letter was Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith. Now, I'm like, okay, help me out here, Micah, because you're basically trying to get rid of the system that got you.
He's a child of the convention.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, soon to be an orphan of the convention. He keeps himself up.
He will be an orphan, but he's a child of it. He's a product of the convention, and that really
Yes.
I mean, it just completely stirred me. It confused me a little bit because
I believe the text message was, "I'm perplexed."
that's exactly right. I was perplexed by the whole
I had a
situation.
different word for it.
Yeah, it will be thrown out, and it's really it's something that we shouldn't even be talking about because I don't even know who Borka is, and from what you have said, he's. Well,
I'll tell you who Mr. Borka is. Mr. Borka is a Holocaust denier, borderline Nazi sympathizer. He ran at Marion County Chairman Slading with John Schmitz and a couple other nut jobs, and they got beat like 65-35. And then I was like, okay, that's it. You had your moment in the sun. Now, please goose step your way out of the hall if you could.
So this is the Twitter caucus.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Feel free to chime in.
absolutely no relevance on real life and where we are with. I'll tell you though, it's if you're mad about how the convention went, then systematically try to fix it. Work with what you've got. I was it was really tough. I remember where I was when I found out that Micah won at that. I remember getting the text messages asking me what I thought about it. And I'm, nope, not saying a dang thing, focusing on my own convention race. Going to be quiet now and going to move forward. I'm focused on the AG's race. We'll worry about, the third floor of the State House later. But yeah, I Remember when that happened. I remember seeing Randy Head walking back from the convention, all right, I guess I'm going to go write a press release. It was surreal almost. But those moments where, and you say he's going to be an orphan. Please orphan him. Please, could the GOP please orphan this?
He's very popular out there.
Oh, I get it. But you've also got serious ethics concerns, even just with the GoFundMe, but also with, Diego is also a product of the convention.
And so is Todd Rokita.
And yes, and we've got.
But at least the Shala and Dan Elliott are as well.
Yes, very true.
Which tells me, once again, boring government is good government.
Yes.
Boring government
Yes.
is good government. Absolutely.
Mark,
Yes.
Mark, chime in. Your thoughts, please.
Well, about the whole thing and about, again, they need to work with each other if they really want to, but it tells me what I suspected of this group, and they don't want to work with anybody. They want to take control of it. Mm-hmm. And that just confirms what I think everybody knew already about that. So I don't think it's going to go very far, and it's just very interesting. It makes my day, entertains me. That's a bad thing, because if I'm entertained by the news, it's not good for good government.
All I know was that when I read it, I was like, it was an edible moment in my backyard, believe you me.
Mm-hmm, yes.
You're watching Indiana Issues, a public affairs program. We go beyond the headlines and sound bites with our political panel, Libertarian Mark Rutherford, Democrat Lindsay Ships, Republican Jim Merritt, and we talk about the issues impacting Hoosiers across the state of Indiana. A little bit closer to home. The Indianapolis City County Council this past week, the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee passed a curfew ordinance 10-0 to tighten the city's curfew after several violent incidents in the downtown area. Obviously, when we record this, and it runs for about a month or so, we'll be back in about a month. We got Indiana Black Expo coming up this weekend, lots of concerns. Lindsay, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the curfew, and also as someone who is a mom with small children.
Sure. Well, I bring my kids downtown all the time. It's not a disincentive for me. The fear mongering that's out there about, the incidents that occur on the Circle or wherever downtown. This is where we've grown up, and downtown. I used to live downtown, so I want my kids to see the beautiful downtown and be part of it. And we do that every chance we get. But I'll also tell you, crime stats are down, and it's important that everybody understand that. It's down in Chicago. It's down here. It's down across the nation. And those violence reduction programs are working. But yes, we have to do more. Absolutely. I think the conversation last night at the council, and that's why I asked you going in on this, what was the vibe last night in the committee? Because I wanted to get the sense of how folks are feeling about this. Do they recognize there's a problem? Do they recognize we need to make changes? Have they recognized that we need to do more in our leadership circles to make those changes effective? I don't necessarily believe that the answer is going to the governor and announcing some sort of new initiative, which he did not at yesterday's press conference. I noted I was paying very careful to the questions that were asked versus what he said. I was paying more close attention to perhaps that than what he answered. But I think, because I know you pay attention to this stuff, but I don't know that everyone does, because I'm not sure everybody either lives or works downtown. And so they don't understand the dynamics of what a downtown evening looks like. I used to have a view of the circle from my window. And so I could see everything any hour of the day. And so I know how quickly it can get really, really violent. And I know how quickly it can just be snoozy and quiet. And I'll be interested to hear your take on this weekend, because it's not All-Star Weekend. It's
All-Star is All-Star Weekend and Black Expo
both.
weekend.
Okay.
Yes.
So forgive me. So there'll be a lot of people, and I'm hopeful that it's a safe weekend for all family members, ages, everyone. But let's see how this curfew works out, because I've seen it work in other cities, and I've also seen it not work.
Jim, with respect to the stats about crime in the downtown area, Lindsay is correct. Downtown, the homicide rate up until about a few days ago was actually trending lower. Mm-hmm. Now it's trending a little bit higher because we had some murders here in the capital city. However, it's the classic, yes, those are the facts, but it's the public perception. And perception, I believe, has started to become reality. Mm-hmm. Because while downtown is still the safest neighborhood in Indianapolis, it doesn't take much to change that.
Right, and one ugly incident, and there have been stats or horrors, if you will, of murders that have happened since the July 4th weekend, is scary to people, and scary to people in the collar counties. That, do I really want to go downtown? And it's very much the perception of it, and the idea of having a police athletic league, the idea of taking care of families of violent crime victims. I mean, there are programs that need to be had that might be prescriptions for to avoid these sorts of things. IPS this next fall will only have 2,500 spots for pre-K. And it's down from 6,000 from last fall, and that's because COVID monies are running out from the federal government. The money is cut from the Indiana state budget, and as well as the fact that IPS wasn't nimble enough to change things. So that'll be 4,500 spots that people with pre-K that benefit from it will have to figure out either they're going to have to pay for it, or they're going to have to figure out some way to have their family take care of when they go to work. And this is to use your vernacular, Lindsay, this is upstream. And the more you do upstream, the less that people drowned downstream. And so, that's really not the answer to your question today. But the bottom line here is that you have to create a feeling of safety. And the idea back in the riots of May 2020, if we had just shut down Monument Circle, if we had just protected the War Memorial, if we had protected the State House from being painted, I think that perception nobody's going to protest over Military Park. And so the bottom line here, and I'm getting to it, is there has to be plans laid out. The mayor has to be out on Monument Circle and working to show that he thinks it's safe. And our leaders in the city council have to be there as well. And curfew is great and everything, but you just have to, not a show of force, but a show of control. And we don't have that right now.
An omnipresent mayor.
Yes.
Frankly, let's be honest.
Right in the middle.
Let's say what we mean.
And let's get Mark here.
Not omnipotent, but
omnipresent. I'm being careful with my criticism.
Yeah. I'm omnipotent. That's potent with an omni in front. I know, Mark, I'd love to get your thoughts on, because I know libertarians are all about liberty, all about personal freedom. So I could see, philosophically, you have a problem with curfew laws, but there's also the public safety component to it as well.
There is a public safety component to it, and I have problems with the curfew laws. I don't think they're effective. I've thought that almost my whole life. When I was a kid and they were applying, it's like, it really only applies to about 2 or 3 people in my high school. The rest of us are fine. Why do we have this? And they seem to have gone away. But now they're talking about doing that when there's other things you can do. And we've had mayors in Indianapolis and Carmel and and around here in other suburban cities that they would go out and step out and do something to say, no, it's not as bad. But they did it in an effective way. Or if it was going bad, they're saying, we're looking at what we're doing, and here's what we're thinking about. What do you all think? In other words, they were leaders. They were showing what to do. They just weren't sitting back. Sometimes you just have to take action to show that I know it's a problem, and I'm trying to do something. And here I am on the street trying to do something. Let's see if it works.
Well, Mayor Joe used to have his walks. Do you remember when he would walk and the media and people would follow him? And
That was the part of the campaign spiel. You had those dang shoes that we
yes.
were.
yeah, but he would actually, when he was mayor, he would take walks in neighborhoods and demonstrating leadership in that regard, and he'd stop that.
This is what happens when you put yourself into a position of receiving so much criticism thanks to decisions made on the 25th floor, and now he's getting chased. The minute he leaves the office, he's getting chased down by reporters asking him about other items.
That's part of the job, is to be chased sometimes, and you just have to tolerate it and get through
lead
it.
in.
You got to lead in and say,
Yeah.
thanks for being here. Thanks for chasing me. Here's what I'm doing. This is where I'm going to right now. And that's just part of being a good mayor, good politician, good whatever you want to call it. That's what you have to do.
Well, I will say this, even though this is the sort of the tripartisan program here, I've had more people in the last few days come and say, Abdul, I wish the mayor's race would have turned out differently. Like,
You too?
Yes.
I've heard that.
I was like, well, tell that to my wife.
I said, tell it to the voters.
Robert Shackelford would have made a great mayor too. All I'm gonna say.
Exactly. You're watching Indiana Issues, the public affairs program. We go beyond the headlines, sound bites, and bring you the latest news for our panel, Libertarian Mark Rutherford, Democrat Lindsay Ships, Republican Jim Merritt. A little bit of good news in the state of Indiana this week. ILEARN. Looks
Yes.
like results are up. Lindsay, we'll start with you.
Sure. So ILEARN, man, this has been such. If you could just rewind for a minute and go back to the education committees this year, ILEARN was always mentioned, and achievement was always mentioned, and how we're just not meeting the need yet, or excuse me, I'm sorry, we're not meeting those goals yet. We haven't gotten to that level of expectation that obviously Katie Jenner has for us, and also for our kids, and that all legislators probably do too. I don't want to speak for any of the leaders on the education committees, but I will tell you, it was good news. I liked to see, first of all, the reporting on this news was also really helpful to see. Chalkbeat, man, they have just done great work. If you're not following Chalkbeat on your education, on education issues, you should be. I have to throw every love I can to media outlets doing the work on this stuff right now, because also as a result of our state budget, we saw 8 awesome statewide reporters working on issues from environment to labor to workforce to Brandon Smith has also lost his gig. So I think it's important.
But the one thing is, the technically the good news and all that is they've still got time.
Yes,
because the funding doesn't go out till the
Indeed.
end, till January.
Till the end of the year.
year.
Yep, absolutely. But that said, it depends on who you ask with this revenue picture, if it's great or if it's not so great. But the Chalkbeat is doing a great job on reporting this, and the ILEARN figures that came out, I think, are important to note and to also signal that we've got to do more, even more than we're doing right now, to just kind of boost our kids and give them that opportunity to move forward. And I would not include any type of expanded voucher funding in that to boost folks forward. Sorry, my bad.
Well, we'll talk about vouchers on the next go round.
Got it.
Jim, math gains were good news, but looks like Indiana still kind of falling behind in the reading area.
COVID had a lot to do with it, and I don't want to give that as the centerpiece of reasons, but it did. It set kids back a year or two, and something that with ILEARN we need to continue it. This idea of switching around to everything in the last 4, 5, 10 years, you just have to have a cohesive, consistent, predictable program, and reading will come. Reading will come.
Jim, I'm sorry, Mark. I know one of the big issues with ILEARN and iStep and all the other I tests had always been we do reform and we don't give the reform time to actually work, because 2 years later, okay, we're not getting the results. Okay, now we need to change it.
Right.
But if you do this every couple of years, you'll never get where you need to be.
That's right. If you do that. Now, I'm a big believer that you want to try to give this to more personal responsibility, the parents, et cetera. But in our society right now, we do have parents who don't know what they're doing or are absent, whatever. Those are where we need to tackle this to get those kids in a situation where they are learning, where they can learn. And but the tests changing. If you're going to have the test, have the same darn test for 20 years before you decide it's not any good. If you just have what you just said, you have to have something to compare it with, and if you keep changing it, you don't know. I see ILEARN, and I thought the results on math were better, but then how does it compare to what we did 20 years ago, and it really is a comparison or not? And sometimes that's hard to do.
But here's a bigger, broader question on the whole issue of testing. Is testing to show where kids are proficient, or should the point of testing be to teach children how to think?
Well, I think it should be about how to think. I'm a big person.
Me
on
too.
That. Yes, you got to teach people to do that. Because
Take me back to the Iowa test.
If you know how to think, you can figure out an awful lot of things because you've learned how to do that, how to research, figure it out. So that I think is a really big, important thing to do.
Lindsay?
Testing is not going to teach that, though. And that's going to be class time, and that's going to be parental involvement, and that's going to be the whole scope. We've set all of these families back by putting everything against their outcomes on other branches of the tree, right? So you've got education you're dealing with right here. You've got declining test scores, and you've got lawmakers looking to fix it, right? And Katie Jenner wants to fix it, and she's doing the right things she can do, and the legislators are doing the right things they can do. And then you're still left here with teachers, right, who are face to face with these kids who know that they need to improve scores, but are also dealing with, wow, my kids just lost their health care due to declining Medicaid coverage. My kids don't have food to eat this summer because SNAP benefits were declined by the governor in terms of $70 million worth of food. And then I also have, other issues like poverty and all of these decks are stacked against these folks. And we're still asking parents to do more and more and more. And we've just got to provide societal needs for these folks to be able to fulfill that.
Jim, I know you've done a lot of work in the hunger space,
Yes, uh-huh.
Particularly as of
we
late.
have plenty of food. It's just the distribution of that food, and it's something that you talk about the sunbucks, and something has to happen to replace those. And so there are 200 food pantries in Marion County, if you can believe that, and they're very cohesive. But it's the idea of people being food insecure. They have food now, but if they lose their job, what's going to happen a week or 13 or 14 days from now?
And Mark, I want to say on the hunger issue, I recently had to do an interview at one of the schools up in the Lawrence area, and it's a school that shares space with a food pantry, and the line out the door at the food pantry is like, hey, is this like recess or like, no, that's the food pantry line. I was like, wow.
Yeah, the pantries are big. I think generally they're doing a fine job here in Indianapolis. There's lots of them. They seem to cooperate. But the important thing to me on there is, and I've been very critical of this, is when I was growing up, I walked 2 blocks to the local food place that wasn't very big, but it was safe, it was clean, and it had what we needed quickly if we needed it. And the people who owned it, a husband and wife, made a very nice living with it and retired quite well. Mm-hmm. They weren't incredibly wealthy, but they had a good retirement. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard, especially in Indianapolis, in my opinion, to get projects done like that. The costs and the reviews and the snows and what, I've got to plant a shrub here? Why do I need to plant a shrub here? It has nothing to do with the local families being able to reach access to food that we can sell at a good price to them. I mean, that's why we have food deserts, not the only reason. That's one, in my opinion, is that you have to build a Kroger big store. Nothing against those are great, but you can't build them everywhere if you're going to make money and have a profit and pay your employees.
You're watching Indiana Issues, the public affairs program that goes beyond the headlines, sound bites, and brings you Indiana's newsmakers and news information in their entirety. Now comes the fun part of the program, predictions and prognostications. So we unwrap the crystal ball, we crack open the fortune cookie, we check our horoscopes on our phone, Gemini, by the way, just in case you guys are wondering. and ask you what's in the crystal ball. Mark, we'll start with you.
Well, my crystal ball is, I'm even thinking about the election next year and who's going to be running. And I think a lot of people are emboldened.
You're really thinking about the election, really?
Yes, I do, because look, yes, I go out and recruit candidates, and we should be doing it when the last election stops, and even before that, and what you're going to do 2, 3, 4 years from now, to find the people who are ready to do that. And that's what you have to do, I think, in politics to get good candidates. But you've got a group in the Republican Party, in my opinion, that have been emboldened, and they're going to be a real problem,
pain in the butt
to the Republicans. Democrats, you've been through some of that, and you seem to be getting the Democrats somewhat stronger on that. But boy, it's a lot of effort to deal with the fights and everything, and that's where you get weird results. That's where you get conventions where you guys, oh my gosh, that person got nominated for that position from the party. You've got to do that. So my prediction is really just, it's going to be really interesting. I can't predict the results. What I can predict is it's going to give a lot of heartburn and a lot of agony to people who really care about having the best candidates possible running for an office.
Lindsay?
Well, I've already asked you for my Democrat wish list, and that's get rid of Diego at your convention. Maybe you'll nominate Jamie Rittenauer. She's apparently announced her candidacy.
I like Dave Shelton personally.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed the coverage actually of that was interesting. But no, I have no real predictions except for the city of Indianapolis is going to pass a responsible budget. I'm looking forward to that all unfolding in the next month here, month and a half or so. And I'm really hopeful that we have, well, I don't have a great positive take on, I appreciate that our nonprofit sector is doing everything it can for hunger, but it's not going to be great. Nonprofit sector cannot make up for these losses coming from the federal government, from SNAP, from the food stamp program. So I'm foreseeing a pretty 2008 looking recession type scenario here in the next few months, quarters, if you will.
Jim?
I think, first of all, Diego Morales gets renominated, will win in 2026. And Dave Shelton or anybody else is not going to take him down. If you just watch Diego get into a Lincoln Day dinner and go from table to table to table and hand people their plate when they go to the buffet.
But does he stand on tiptoes?
On his tiptoes.
Yeah. And second of all, I think we're going to find the economy growing in the next 6 months, and I think that is going to be a one of the solutions, as well as the fact that the Republican Party will still continue to be a party without discipline, and really the bottom line is things will continue to go along where. The party workers will do the work, and a lot of the office holders really are there for the TikTok, as you say. And so, bottom line is we're going to have a very good economy. Diego Morales is going to win at the convention, and we'll continue to see the Republican Party on a roller coaster.
My prediction for the next 6 months is it's going to be a whole lot of clicks and sell a whole lot of cheat sheet subscriptions because the fun, my friends, is just beginning. Our guests on the program today have been Libertarian Mark Rutherford, Democrat Lindsay Ships, Republican Jim Merritt. Special thanks to all the good folks here at Edge Media Studios in downtown Indianapolis. You've been watching Indiana Issues. I'm Abdul-Hakim, the editor and publisher of IndianaPolitics.org. We'll talk to you next time here on Indiana Issues.